All right, so you've made the decision that you want to run this portfolio. You've subscribed to Predicting Alpha. You're in the terminal and you're about to place your first trades. What does life look like from this moment to, let's say, your first 30 days, 90 days, and maybe even your first year? Well, that is what we will talk about in this video. So the first thing I want to say is that it's going to be a lot easier than you expected. When you came in, you're probably like, oh man, it's this whole quant system and stuff. And hopefully by now you're seeing, wait, this is pretty manageable. And when you sign in and actually do it for yourself, you'll see how manageable it is. Like, this is a strategy that I think anyone could run. And the reason is because all of the heavy lifting is done for you by the tool. So what day one is going to look like is that you're going to sign up, you go into the system, you input how much money you're trading with. It'll tell you to place some trades. You literally place the exact trades it tells you, record the prices, and you're done. You're going to be sitting there thinking, what do I do now? And the beauty is that is a feature of the system, not a bug. The idle hands that you will have are what were supposed to be there all along when you were spending all day staring at charts that really you have no control over. So what do I recommend you do at that time? Well, option one is to touch grass, go outside, get some sun, some vitamin D, Option two is to spend some time with your family. And option three, which I think is what most of us end up doing with this spare time, is finding another productive thing you can do that increases your income. So maybe it's developing better job skills or asking for a salary raise or working more hours, doing something that gives you more fuel to pump into this investment vehicle, because that's what you've really acquired here now, right? This is a system that you can put money into and reasonably forecast into the future what that money becomes. And if I've done my job right in this course and in our research and in everything else you've seen from us, you're at this point now, you should feel pretty confident that this is something you can actually rely on. And so when we think about what your first 30 to 90 days is, honestly, I think it's just all about building that confidence. You're going to notice in your first week of running the portfolio, you're still checking it every single day, multiple times a day on your phone. You're sitting at work looking at it, but after a week of doing that, I genuinely mean this when I say it, you're going to slow down on doing that. Maybe you'll forget to look at it for a day and you're going to actually notice, you're going to be like, wow, I didn't look at my portfolio today. That's crazy. And that's beautiful because you don't need to, right? Like, you're going to get a notification if anything needs to be done. All this time you're spending looking at the portfolio during times where nothing needs to be done is effectively dead time. It's time that could have been spent doing something more productive, doing something you actually have control over. If we think about it, all that time that up until this moment you've spent staring at the portfolio where you can't really do anything about it, but you can't look away, all of that implicit hours that you spent are going to be freed up. And that is going to be a huge weight off your shoulders and a huge opportunity for you to go do something more productive with your time without having to sacrifice, and while actually getting the results that you wanted when you started on this trading or investing journey in the first place. Something else that I really highly recommend you do during your first 30 days, ideally your first day, is book a call with me. Let's meet each other, right? You've just watched me talk for an hour or two or however long this course ends up being, and it would be great to meet each other. I would love to be able to support you on this journey. We are a small community of traders running this portfolio together, and wherever you're still feeling uncertainties, I'm there to help you work through that or to understand what this portfolio drawdowns really look like, capabilities really are. We can talk about those things openly. And the last thing is, after about 90 days, what I would say most traders will end up doing is doing a comparison between their first 90 days of performance and what is seen in the backtest. So a beautiful thing that happens in the Predicting Alpha platform is, as you're recording the prices that you're getting fills at, we're building a data set for you of your performance. We'll have the daily P&L chart for you of this portfolio's returns. And beside it, we will have metrics that benchmark for you how you are performing against the historical data set. What percentage of the time have we seen a drawdown this big? What percentage of the time do we win this many days in a row? Or what is our current percentage of winning days for the strategy? And how does that compare to what the average long-term is? What is our monthly return on average looking like? What is that on average in the back tests? And it gives you a sense of, is what you're seeing in reality of running the strategy an accurate representation of the long-term results? And once you can see these two and compare them, it really helps build a sense of familiarity and comfortability with where you're allocating your capital. So typically what I'll see is people will put a sum of money in to start, let's call it $25,000, and they'll do that for 90 days. And at the end of the 90 days, they will review it, They'll look at the numbers and they'll go, huh, this is actually, whether it's up or down, because, like I said, short-term variance is real and it could be anything. But what I'm seeing is an accurate representation of what the data was telling me when I first started. So it's immediately more familiar. And it's usually at that point that traders will start to come up with a plan of how they want to grow this portfolio. Okay, I'm making $6,000 at work. I have $3,000 after my expenses. I'm going to put $2,000 of it into this portfolio, and I'm going to do that on a monthly basis, right? You're starting to come up with a plan of how you further accelerate the compounding. How do you take this from just a small amount of capital that you're dabbling with and turn it into something that is a real wealth creation vehicle? That is usually what the first 90 days are going to look like for most people who join Predicting Alpha. It starts off with a little tiptoe into the water where you allocate some capital and you see how it goes. You do the comparison of saying, hey, let's see how this looks relative to the data. And once you've done that and built the familiarity with the strategy, you scale it up.